Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending of where in the world everyone is watching. Welcome to the fourth day of ISKI Certification Days 2020. I'm going to just give a couple of seconds for a couple of you to start joining. Welcome, everyone. My name is Andrea. I work for ISKI. Today we have a very special guest. Thank you so much for joining us today to Mr. Stan Bühne.
Thank you.
Today we have his presence. He's going to be doing a short seminar with us. He's going to be talking today about the digital design professional craft with digital material. So we're having him today just to tell you a little bit of context for Mr. Stan Bühne. He is the Vice Managing Director of the IREP GmbH and is responsible for the new business field of digital design. Prior to this, he worked for 15 years in IT consulting. So not taking too long of your time, I'm going to pass this on to him to start the presentation as well. I just would like to remind everyone that we are going live today. So if you have any questions to maybe ask at the end of the seminar, make sure to put those in the comment section down below, and then we'll be able to have a look at that. So without further ado, I will pass this on to our host.
Thank you, Andrea. And also welcome from my side, and just welcoming you to my presentation. And just today I want to talk about our new certification program, the Digital Design Professional. And I want to talk about why it is necessary to underline the need of the designer in today's digital projects. And this is the topic of today. So Andrea already spent a few words of mine, so I will keep this short. I'm the Vice Managing Director of the IREP. Have worked some years before joining IREP in IT consultancy. Worked in several roles as requirements engineer, solution designer, project manager, whatever you have in these roles. And my domain was especially the telecommunications domain. So let's spend a few words about IREP. The IREP, in general, is a non-profit organization. This was founded somewhere in 2006, and the goal of the IREP was to professionalize requirements engineering. So now, a few years later, the scope is a bit widened. So if we look at our products, for sure, most of you know the CPRE, the Certified Professional for Requirements Engineering. So this was the very first product of the IREP, and all over the world, we have over 50,000 certified professionals in this area. Additionally, we have the Requirements Engineering magazine, what's out there, where we have some interesting articles coming every month. And our new product is the Digital Design Professional that will be launched early next year and really focuses on the education of the field in digital design. So my agenda for today is, first of all, I would like to talk about a bit, let's say, the meaning of digital design. So what's the idea behind that? Then I would like to dive into two competence areas we have in our syllabus. One is the material competence, and the other is the design competence. What about the, let's say, processes and so on. And finally, I would like to give you some insights into our new certification program about how the certification going, what needs to be done from your side if you're interested, and so on. So then let's start. So when we talk about digital design, we really mean to understand digital solutions in a holistic way. So this means from one end to the other. So this includes not only, let's say, the software part of a solution, but also the hardware part, the people that use this digital solution, the environment in which this solution is embedded and used. And this is really necessary because otherwise the solution will not be, let's say, that accepted by the users as it needs to be, because as of today, we need to build solutions that are really used and that are really understood by the users. So we are far away from the age of where we have this, let's say, big old SAP monolith, where the users more or less are forced to use it. So today in our society, when we build digital solutions, people shall be supported in using, let's say, or in their problems and in solving their problems. So that's why digital design also means that solutions are really somehow merged with the environment. So if you look out today, it doesn't matter if this is in some, let's say, business domain like medical systems, or if this is in the private sector, like, for instance, for support of a runner, or let's say listening music, looking videos, video streams, and so on. Digital solutions today really have to be sufficient in a way that they solve existing problems and that they support the persons in their everyday life. So, for example, if you have a runner who is listening to a kind of podcast during his training, or he's streaming some kind of Spotify, then maybe his smartwatch measures his heart rate, the distance is somehow logged, the pace of the running event is logged, and this is somehow done without disturbing the runner. So this is really, let's say, supporting the human being by, let's say, using some kind of technology. Digital design, on the other hand, also helps to understand that the digital solution is more than just software, as already mentioned. So if you think in terms of digital solutions, we have to ask ourselves some questions. So one of the questions is, so what needs to be digitalized? So I think not everything that is in our current world needs to be moved from analog to digital. And this is one of the major points that needs to be addressed as well. Then we have some interaction between hardware and software. We have software and users. So if you look on the pictures here, let's assume you have you want to build a solution for logistics company. Then for sure you have some hardware devices for, let's say, representing the stock environment. You have some scanners for scanning the parcels. On the other hand, from the user perspective, you may also in your whole business chain have some kind of online shop where the lady on the left, right top is ordering some products that have to be shipped. Then you have some business model behind that. And all of this needs to be understood in digital solutions. This means you have to look how the environment is really structured, who are the users of your system, what is the business model behind. And yeah, then you have to find the, let's say, technology that really fits and supports your solution in building up the best result in the end. So when we have a look at the 3 steps of digitalization, digital transformation, or digitization, then we see that in the very beginning of software engineering, we really did a lot of digitization. What is, let's say, nothing else that you have some technology where you just digitalize some data, for instance, from a normal record to a CD, from a newspaper to a kind of whatever digital data, from phone book to an electronic phone book. This is just, let's say, transferring data from an analog part to a digital part. And this is, here we also have seen that this will help people in doing something, but it's only, let's say, that the data is digitalized. If we talk about digitalization, then we see that technology changes the processes. So here also the, let's say, value chain or the business processes are changed. If you use the example from CD to MP3 or to the iPod, then we see that the business model of the normal shops who sell CDs or records or whatever, that this was somehow disrupted because as of the invention of the iPod, the business model was something else, because then you just opened your computer and you bought your MP3s just online, and the small shop where you went on at the weekends beforehand, this was more or less not longer necessary. So this is where we have some, let's say, technology that will change digital processes. Hopefully, the processes are analyzed before you just digitalize some, let's say, processes that are not working in the analog world. They will not work in the digital world as well. Another part where we are now is this part of digital transformation. Then here technology changes really the ecosystems and the environment and the business models behind. Because here, for instance, in this example of music, you have a completely new business model. If you use Spotify, you're streaming music, you're not owning music anymore. So you're just, let's say, renting music by a monthly fee, and you can hear whatever you want. Same as, for instance, for such topics like video streaming or Uber or whatever. So this means here technology really disrupted the access in the existing business models by some kind of digital transformation. And this is exactly the point where digital design starts, in the digitalization, or especially in the digital transformation projects. But to shape this kind of digital future, we really need people who can use technology to create some kind of added value. This means, first of all, we need people who are familiar with some existing technologies, who can really assess the capabilities and also the limitations of this technology to create some kind of added value leading to new business models. And in our point of view, for this kind of projects or development, the, let's say, current analytical skills and this kind of silo thinking, this is not longer sufficient to create some innovative and sustainable solutions. In order to create a kind of digital future, we really need some kind of, let's say, new way of thinking. We need new competencies. We also need new skills. And we need some kind of people that are taking care or taking responsibility of the entire design of a digital solution. This means from the very start to the end, till going live. Not this part, I'm only focusing requirements, or I'm only focusing architecture, or I'm only focusing on the implementation. We need some kind of responsibility for the entire solution. In addition, we need people who really think that they are able to lead the building process from the design perspective. We need people who think in business, people, and technology together. Is not one without the other, because otherwise we create, let's say, solutions that are not usable by people, or that do not even create value for business. Another thing, what is quite important, is to understand digital as a shapeable material. So if we talk about digital, for instance, bits and bytes or technology frameworks and so on, so in our point of view, it's more or less the same as you have some wood for a carpenter. So also he needs to know his materials. He needs to know wood. He needs to know steel or other materials. And it's the same for a kind of digital designer who is using this, let's say, digital materials, he also needs to know his materials to create the best out of it. And these persons we simply call digital design professionals. So we created a kind of new certification program and structured the contents according to the PI model. Also, the Bitkom Association in Germany recommended. And here we have 3 core competence areas. One is design competencies, another one is material competences, and then the third one, also very important, is the cross-cutting competence with business and people aspects. In the design competences, we are focusing on integration of digital design into the building process. This means here really we talk about what is the building process, what are the artifacts that need to be described. We focus on conceptual work like we do it today, for instance, in RE or in other disciplines. We also have the idea or the focus of, let's say, using prototypes in digital design to experience really the solutions that are created and to make this as soon as possible. On the other hand, as already mentioned, material competences means understanding technology, kind of differentiation of perceivable and underlying technology. This is quite important to us as well, that these kind of digital designers are really able to understand the material they are working with and that they consult their, let's say, customers in a sufficient way. What's also important is the cross-cutting competence, and here we have we talk about business models for digital solutions. We also consider human factors and human experience in digital design, and also people management. This means how to get the right people involved to get a solution out of it. Let's now have a short look into the area of material competence. So if we talk about material competence, it's quite important to have in mind that also a digital designer or someone who is, let's say, shaping the future with digital solutions needs to understand his material. And so as mentioned, it's similar as a carpenter who's working, for instance, with wood. He needs to understand which materials can be used. This means for a designer in the digital environment, can I use hardware, software? For instance, can I steer my car by, let's say, a normal wheel, or do I have some kind of steer by wire? Have I a normal keyboard, or do I have some soft keys? So this is also a thing that needs to be decided and has influence on the entire solutions. Then you need to think about what capabilities does this material have in kind of form, function, and quality. What are the limits of this material? So this means you cannot use each and every material for each and every situation. For instance, if you want to build cars for firefighting, you should not use wood. That's quite sure. And this is the same in the digital environment. Here you also need to think about what can be used in which particular situation. How do these materials influence each other? How these materials can be processed? And also quite important, which skills are needed if we select a certain material, and how we can, let's say, work with it. This means which skills are required to set up this kind of solution, also to operate the solution later on. According to industrial design, also each element, doesn't matter if this is material, a system, or a solution, have some certain characteristics. What is form, function, and quality? Already mentioned this before. And here it's quite obvious. So if we talk about, for instance, for a lamp, then the form is how this is shaped, how the structure is created, what is the design of it. In the digital world, this could be, let's say, the UI of a system. This could also be the structure of the data, how this is stored. The function is a capability that is provided by these elements. So means, for instance, here, the light is on, the light is off. Or a quality characteristic is, for the lamp, for instance, energy saving. And these are all aspects that need to be considered during creating the concepts, and the separation of form, function, and quality really helps the digital designer to discuss on different levels with different users and to not forget about certain aspects. In the same way, a distinction about the things that are perceivable, this means things that can be touched, seen, heard, or experienced, and the underlying things, so this means everything that will enable the perceivable form, function, and quality, is quite important. So it's quite obvious that the left-hand side, this big picture, where we have some kind of lamp that this brings light, and that the lamp will have some, let's say, way that can be seen, that can be touched. You see, you have some kind of design. And this, when talking about that, we talk about the perceivable characteristics of a material or of a solution. But for a solution, you also need to consider the underlying aspects. And this is, for instance, when you're having a lamp, you also need to have also need to create the power. So this means you need to have some kind of power generation. Could be windcraft, could be atom, could be whatever. You need some kind of bringing the power from the generation to the lamp. This means you need, for instance, some overland transport. So where these little birds are sitting on. So it's not only something where the birds can sit on. This has also some other aspects that are necessary to bring power from A to B. And at the end, you also, for instance, need some cable for the ground that are laid in the ground from one point to the other, that in the end, the power is available at this lamp. And this is, in our differentiation, the underlying aspects. So now you might think, how does this help for structuring my problems in the digital work? Here's a simple example. So let's assume you have a photo app. Then on the perceivable layer, you have form, function, and quality. Taking a photo is quite clear function. The form, for instance, on the perceivable layer is the representation, for instance, of the photo app, how these things are aligned, what is visible. Quality aspects for taking a photo is, for instance, the number of pictures per second that could be taken. Underlying aspects, on the other hand, are on the function level, maybe the artificial intelligence algorithms for some kind of face recognition. So the users may know that the camera is able to recognize faces, but how is the, let's say, algorithm? It's not perceivable, it's not from interest for the user. Same, for instance, for the read-write speed of the memory on the quality aspect, or on the data model behind storing these pictures, GPS data, image settings, and so on. And the differentiation between perceivable and underlying is also quite useful when talking to, let's say, users or the client or the customer of a product, when you talk about perceivable aspects. And when you talk about underlying aspects, you talk about more with the technical guys and how this could be realized and so on. But they influence each other. Another important aspect is the design competence. So if if you look our today's, let's say, building processes, quite often we have certain roles that are responsible for business analysts, elaborating requirements, creating concepts, and so on. And they hand over their pieces of work, for instance, concepts, to the developers. And this is really where the problem starts to begin, when people only think in roles and have built some kind of fences and avoid discussions with other people. And here you have often some kind of gap between expectations and the real solution. So this means we need to get away from this limited responsibility. And we need to go towards some kind of end-to-end responsibility. For sure, some kind of, let's say, agile teams are already thinking in this direction. But also here, most of them do not have the, let's say, intention of what we think about digital design. So here, in our point of view, we need really people who have a clear picture about the vision when we talk about digital design. We have also ideas how to create a concept that a technician will understand, but they also need to have at least a limited awareness of technology, what is available, what are the capabilities, because this will directly influence the solution and maybe it has some impact on the goals and on the vision. For that, we need some kind of, let's say, paradigm shift in the thinking of today's world. So that's why we have the idea of having, say, a 3-step development process or construction process. One thing is the scoping step, then we have conceptual step and implementation operations. In the scoping step, we talk about what needs to be achieved, what resources are available, what is the real vision that needs to be done, what are the monetary resources are available. So, let's say, have a small budget or a quite big budget. What is really the goal behind? On the conceptual step, we also talk about business models, how to earn money with it. What are the uses or the, let's say, customer segments that need to be considered? What is the, let's say, solution that should be generated before? In the next part, we need to think about how do these small elements really look like, and to make this a bit more in detail, and to think about how the solution can really be implemented. And this for sure is not a, let's say, some kind of waterfall project. Even if we call the steps, they are, let's say, really iterative, and scoping and conceptual step really goes hand in hand when you think about this is my problem, how can I solve this, what could be a solution, how can a system be, and this has influence also on the ideas and goes round and round. Same is with the conceptual step, where you set up the, let's say, system with its elements, and the implementation and operation step, where you create, let's say, detailed design for these elements. Also here, when selecting certain technologies, you have an iterative process that influences also from the technical side. And this is quite important to be known. So if we look on a big picture here, then we see that we have these three steps that go hand in hand with some iterative loops: scoping, conceptual, implementation. And during the steps, we create some kind of awareness and designs. So first of all, let's say the vision is documented. The, let's say, goals and no-goes are documented. And this is called, in our terminology, digital design brief. Then we talk about the, let's say, digital solution as a whole, as the whole, where we think about what is the, let's say, what are the revenue streams? What is the business model behind? What are the processes that should be supported? What is the goal? What are the really goals that need to be solved? And this is, let's say, the solution design. Then if the, let's say, problem or the solution level is quite clear, then you start with creating a system, or let's say different system designs, to think about how this could be solved, what could be a proper solution for that, proper system to have this problem solved. And then in further step, for each of these elements, for instance, a smartwatch, an app, the backend interface, you have certain element design concepts, and this is especially on the element level where the implementation and the operation step already starts in parallel. So in our or in addition to our syllabus and handbook, we created some kind of case study, and this case study is implemented or realized in Confluence and Jira. And here we really used Confluence for the, let's say, different concepts that are created on these different steps, and Jira for the process view. And it's quite important also for a digital designer to understand, let's say, the difference between which artifacts, for instance, user stories, epics, tasks, are used to control the entire process, and which are the artifacts that cover the content. And this is quite nice when using, for instance, these two tools, because here you can work with different links and say, okay, you have certain kind of user stories that are linked to some element design concepts. And in the element design concepts, the real details for implementation are described, and the user stories and tasks are really used for tracking the work, having the entire part controlled, and so on. So this is why we also decided, in addition to our syllabus, to create some kind of case study that will also be provided online for free. I will just jump over that one and come to our new certification program to give some insights in here. So the digital design professional is really some kind of entry point to develop the design skills of today's roles in software engineering. So it focuses really on existing roles that are currently working in software engineering projects. Could be a product owner, could be a requirements engineer, could be a UI expert, could be a business analyst, because all of them already have a certain knowledge in one of these skills, for instance, conceptual work, business models, or in technology. And in our point of view, it's really important today to have a broader view, to bring this all together. And this is the idea of the digital design professional, to have this, let's say, to enrich the skills of these existing roles to come up with a more, let's say, consolidated skill set. The DDP is a 3-day training course, and in addition to the training course, there is a certification. For sure, it must not be, let's say, a training course. Candidates can also, similar as for the CPRE, use the syllabus and the handbook to have some self-education, but in the end, you can have some kind of certification. Here's a nice or a small overview of the contents of the syllabus. We start with some kind of introduction to digital design. Then we have the design competence, digital material. These two, I give a very brief introduction in the last minutes. Then we talk about the cross-cutting competencies like business models for digital solutions, people management, and so on. In addition, we also provide a small building process for beginners. This means really a description from how to start from scoping until the element design, and how these different concepts, user stories, and epics can be structured to measure the progress. And I think this is really a unique thing in the syllabus on the market, to also give the participants some kind of practical experience as kind of best practice, that they can directly start. So how you can get certified? In general, you can either use our material and have some self-learning, or you go with a training provider. The training providers will be listed on our website soon under www.digitaldesign.org. The certification itself will be a multiple choice exam like the CPRE. It's about also 45 questions that need to be answered in 75 minutes for non-native speakers. In this certification language, you have plus 15 minutes. The validity of the certificate is unlimited, like our other certificates, and certification can be done by all of the recognized certification bodies, for instance, ISKI. What is the timeline? So currently, as mentioned, we are having the final review of the syllabus currently. The handbook is 95% ready. There's also some reviews already being approached, and there's only some let's say little rework. Then we work on the case study that I briefly introduced, and for sure working on the exam questions. So here we are really in the finalization of all these artifacts. Our plan is the publication of the syllabus in December this year. This will be presented on our website with a relaunch of our digitaldesign.org. And we plan for go live. This means bringing out the handbook, the exam questions, also for the exams provider in the first quarter of 2021. So this means everyone interested could start before spring. So I think time is pretty much over. I really thank you for your attention and would like to close my talk by now. If you have any questions, just visit us on our website, or drop me a mail or ask your question right now. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm back. I hope you can hear me now. Thank you so much for that presentation, Stan. Very insightful. For anyone that is watching, if you have any questions that you would like to be asked here on live, just make sure to comment down below wherever social media you're watching, and we are able to have a look at that for you now. I can see I had a couple of people saying over here in one of the groups in the watch party saying thank you, very informative. I also have saying we have Danny here that was watching from Facebook. Thank you for joining us, Fanny Sari. So if anyone have any questions for Mr. Stan Bühne, let us know. Otherwise, we're just going to wait for a couple of seconds because it's a little bit delayed in some of the groups' watch parties. But thank you very much. Very interesting presentation as well. I think people should definitely, we also are recording this in case you watch halfway through. So if you missed the beginning of the presentation, don't worry. This is all recorded and you will be able to see it once again, everything as well, and share with your friends on social media. So for what I can see, I don't think we have any questions for the time being, but thank you once again very much for your presentation. And actually, Mr. Bühne is, but I'm hoping I'm not pronouncing incorrectly your surname. If you have any questions for him, he's actually doing tomorrow a second live transmission, but this time it's going to be in German.
Yeah.
So if you have any German speaking friends that would be interested into this topic and maybe their English is not feeling as comfortable, you can let them know. We'll be having this one at the same time tomorrow. I believe this is our time for today, but we'll be hosting also more seminars today. So just stay tuned. We'll have one starting in about 20 minutes. So definitely keep watching, get some drinks, invite some of your friends, and we can continue to learn more in these ASCII International Certification Days. Thank you very much for joining us today, Stan, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow again.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.